Friday afternoon at the Carlton Cinema. This is Jake and Jacob.
And I'm Jacob, and we're about to see Insidious, The Last Key.
People who need help with matters that can't be explained come to me. These hauntings can be terrifying things. I should know. I've faced many evils in my life.
I've only seen one of the Insidious movies, the first one, and this is the fourth one, from what I understand. So I'm just going to be seeing it as it is, I guess. I don't really know what's happened. Jacob here has seen most of them.
I'm one step ahead of you. I've seen the first two. I have not seen the third one. I kind of think the movies always horror movies dip when you kind of lose the main actors. I think they have one of the actors in the original three in this movie, but it's a January horror movie. It's the first, horror movie of the year 2018. I don't ever have expectations for these movies, so hopefully we get scared.
The haunted house is my family's house.
I'm attracted to the horror genre, but I'm also a big baby. Like, I get scared easily, but I do like it. Like, I like going to see scary movies. And this is part of isn't there like a horror cinematic universe or something, or like this, Annabelle, and like a few other ones or some shit?
You're thinking Conjuring, but but here's the thing. With Insidious and Conjuring, it has the same actor, the main guy who did the first two Insidious movies.
That's why I'm confused.
Is in the Conjuring movies, and he looks exact same, and then changes character, so you can get that mixed up. But there's the thing, the Insidious franchise now, I guess everything's a franchise. We're kind of in the bit now. It's just like, this is where I get fearful. It's like, is this another Saw, all these horror movies where it's too many in the bunch, too many cooks in the kitchen? Are we just seeing a movie that's just like they're just trying to dish it out for cheap? It's my fear of these movies. Fear. But I'm hoping that at least it's directed well. The jump scares are used correctly. Just do it correctly. Don't hit all the tropes in a terrible way. And at least I can leave this movie being like, all right, not too bad. Maybe I'll see the third one.
Yeah, I think with horror movies, I like to see like a nice, unique aesthetic and like a cool take on like monsters, instead of like kind of run-of-the-mill ghosts, paranormal stuff, like, which I'm sure there will be this. Like, I think, was it the first one or the very end, they're going to like this like lair where like there's like a devil or some shit, and he's like, is that Insidious?
I think you're really off. Insidious.
I'm sure it is.
It is like a kind of like a ghost story, possessed story. At the end of it, there's that big cliffhanger in the first movie where the dad, the actor's not in it. It's Patrick something. He's kind of trapped in, I think, this dimension. Like I said, I'm probably really vague about it too, but I remember how they kind of do things where there's like different layers. And the second movie, I believe, has like this little Darth Maul looking demon character.
Oh, okay. I like that.
But I think we're both going into this movie really unsure maybe what movie we're seeing. But either way, let's hope it's spooky and let's get scared.
Yeah, I just want to note that it is like negative 1,000 out. It is bone chilling cold outside.
We're basically dead.
My fingers are falling off. All right, let's go. We just finished watching Insidious, The Last Key.
The Last Key.
Last Key.
Not the Lost
Not
Key.
the Lost Key. The Last Key. And you go first.
I'm not going to give like an amazing review. This isn't really deep dive here. It's a January movie. It's a January horror movie. They clearly didn't have enough confidence for it to be October. No, I'm not. Okay, wait. It sounds like I'm thinking this is like the worst movie ever made. It's not. The first act, when they kind of go back to the main girl's like life when she's a kid, I actually was really invested. I'm invested in it. My problems is there's a lot of repetition. Like, she's constantly crying when she's an adult. She's constantly crying as a kid. The side characters are just terrible. The main monster looks atrocious. It looked better when you just see the hand. It's I don't know. Even the jump scares were bad. I don't know. I wasn't into it.
I definitely thought it was boring, and even the parts where, like, okay, it's scary and like it's tense, I was like scared in a bored way. I wasn't like, I want to watch and see what's happening, but it's scary. It's like, this is just gonna scary. I'm just waiting for it. I actually thought when the human in the house like turned on them, that was the most exciting part. That had nothing to do with the ghost or anything. I actually thought the monster was like, wasn't the best, but like the whole. He was sort of a creative design, so basically he had like keys for hands, and like he would put his key into a throat and like turn off their voice.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting. But otherwise, like, I mean, there's a lot of throwbacks, I think, to the other movies as well. And if you haven't seen them, you might not know. But it's not necessary to watch them. But
the ending definitely, because this is a prequel and kind of an origin story prequel to the main girl. And the ending kind of picks off so you could watch right into the first movie. I like that. And yes, with the big monster, I basically liked everything surrounding his hand, the keys, the hand. I like the backstory. I think the best parts of this movie is actually the villains of the human. There's a lot of story that's going on with the guys that's lived in the house presently in the past, and the kind of people they become because of the possession. I think that's what the idea is. They're possessed. I like that continuous story. I like that the humans were actually the more scary. When it came to the big baddie, like I said, I wasn't scared at all. The jump scares were very lackluster. I'm not even a big fan of jump scares. I didn't even find the movie that creepy. Like I said, the best parts about it are the past and the present of these guys. They've seen possessed. The monsters, just the hand of the monster is the scariest part. The keys, how she can do with the throat and everything, the heart, that was cool. But overall, I just felt everything felt very weak, very flat. I wasn't really invested. I felt very bored. I yawned more than I jumped. Overall, I just think, this is a movie they didn't have enough faith for it to come in October. It's fourth movie in the franchise. It's the first weekend in January kind of horror movie.
I think a good horror movie is a horror movie that can scare you without jump scares. Like, I think jump scares are necessary, and I think when they're done right, it's good. But I think when a movie has just like very good atmosphere and stuff, it's great. And this was like, outside of the main story, like the elements of it, the horror elements were very like run-of-the-mill. There was nothing that caught me by surprise. It was just, I don't know, it was pretty lame. Like, I wouldn't recommend seeing it, especially if you're like a horror movie fan.
Yeah, creepy house that actually didn't feel that creepy. I feel like they could have done more with the house itself. There's a part, this isn't a spoiler, but there's a part where she goes in, she walks in the house after all these years, and she's like, there's a lot of spirits in here, good and bad. It would have been interesting if there was more stuff happening in the house, because actually almost everything that was happening in the house evolved around actually a human character, without spoiling anything.
I don't think it matters.
No, but it's just saying, it evolved around more humans than spirits. And for a house, it's like, you kind of get a hint that's caked filled with spirits. The atmosphere is very plain. Like, I felt like I could sleep in this house. Like, I would have no problem sleeping in this house.
Yeah.
But like I said, the best parts don't really save the movie. For a movie that was maybe an hour and a half, I felt like it was 2.5 hours. I was bored.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10.
4.
The best parts were not long enough.
I was going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Passing grade.
Don't go see it unless you're a huge fan of the franchise, which I don't even know anyone who is.
Or you want to marathon it and it's all on Netflix one day, marathon it.
The main character, like the woman, I guess she's in all the other movies, right?
She's in all the movies, and she likes to cry a lot.
Yeah, like, I don't know what it is. Like, her delivery on her lines, I don't know if it's a script or just her, but like, they're like so like lame. It reminded me of like those old Resident Evil games, like the voice acting.
Barry, where's Barry?
Well, I'm sorry, but he's probably...
No.
every time she said something, I kind of saw she'd be like, there are spirits in here.
She's very
and
flat.
there's no extra delivery other than just like reading the lines.
She always felt like this was the first read. Actually, the thing I was gonna say that too. She was always a side piece in the other movies. Like she was just here to like. Now in this movie, she's holding the movie, and it's just there's no character that you really latch on. It's really boring. It's not, and with her always crying, not really interacting with everything. It's just I don't care for it. I'm sticking with my 4.
All right. Well, this is Jake and Jacob.
And I'm Jacob, and don't forget to subscribe.